Hey folks, I'm Allison. Welcome to my BookTube channel. Today's video is my TBR for July and August, and it includes a book haul from this incredibly cool local bookstore. First two books are sort of books of shame that I didn't finish in May and June. That is The Book Eaters by Sunyi and The Idiot by Elif Batuman. The Book Eaters is about a family living in the British countryside in a sort of magical old house, and they eat books. It has a very like fairies and rolling hills sort of in the English countryside vibe to it, but they have a child who either drinks blood or eats people or something like that. And the book explores questions of how far will you go to protect the people you love, even when they may be a danger to others. And I think it, as part of its exploration of that, you know, has a very sort of dark, spooky turn. So I'm really excited to get to this book. It's at the top of my TBR since it was sort of at the end of my TBR for last month, and I was traveling for a bunch of June, and I ended up jumping a couple of books ahead of it on the list because I wanted to do some books for Pride, and so I didn't get to this, but this is first on my TBR for July, so I'm definitely going to get to it this month. The second book that I didn't get to from May and June is The Idiot by Elif Batuman. This is the book about the daughter of Turkish immigrants who starts her first year as a freshman at Harvard. And she meets a boy and they go on a European adventure to Budapest in the Hungarian countryside. And I think it has a sort of dark academia vibe, and very much in line with dark academia is exploring questions about belonging and, you know, what it is to be an outsider and the ways in which people who are outsiders or who perceive themselves to be outsiders can be, you know, vulnerable. I think she's also trying to become a writer, and so there's some exploration in there of the very college problem, you know, dark academia college problem of like trying to chase your dreams and, you know, having to come to terms with whether or not you're like willing to do what it takes to chase them. So I am gonna get to this book too. This is second on my list, so I will definitely in my July and August wrap up have reviews of The Book Eaters and The Idiot for you. Then the rest of my TBR is made up of 3 books that I got on my little book haul. The first one is Tom Lake by Ann Patchett. I read The Dutch House in maybe April and absolutely loved it. It was my second 10-star read of the year, and I came away desperately wanting to read more Ann Patchett. And it felt like a very appropriate sort of summer vibes book. I think it's actually set in the spring, but it's about a mother and her 3 adult daughters who return to their lake house in Michigan in the spring of 2020. So it's like a contemporary novel. And the daughters basically are asking the mother to tell them stories about her life. She had an affair with like a famous actor, and it's just basically a book about all different kinds of love. The back of the book says it's about romantic love, marital love, maternal love, but also the love of animals, the love of stories, the love of land and trees, and the tiny red cordiform object that is a cherry. So I think, you know, I don't know, love stories in the summer is such a vibe. So I'm really excited to read this one. And Ann Patchett is such an amazing writer. I mean, at least from reading The Dutch House, I have the belief that Ann Patchett is an absolutely amazing writer. That book was so it was so vividly told with such like stripped down, simple prose that it was just an absolute pleasure to read. And I'm hoping that this one will live up to my expectations. The second book that I got is James by Percival Everett. I've been wanting to read this book for a while. There's been so much, hype and buzz around it, and then it won the Pulitzer. So then, I was like, okay, I have to read that book. I am somebody who read Huckleberry Finn in high school and have not read it since. And the internet is so mixed on whether you should read Huckleberry Finn before you read James. It is literally sitting in my little free library right now. Somebody left Huckleberry Finn, and I just haven't really wanted to read it, but I really want to read this book. So if I end up regretting not having read that before I read this, I will let you know. This book is a retelling of Huckleberry Finn from the perspective of Jim, or James, who is the black slave in the story. And I don't know, I think this is a book that I picked up, in large part just because of the hype around it. But I feel like it's, it's sort of relatively trustworthy hype in that it's coming from sort of all sectors. Like, it's coming from critics, it's coming from the internet. It's not like this book just sort of went TikTok viral, or like it's going to be some, niche thing that only really highbrow people like. It seems like, sort of everyone is obsessed with this book. And so that is probably pretty good evidence that it's worth a read. And I think retellings are fun. I love like Wild Sargasso Sea, for instance. So yeah, so I'm hoping this one is a good one. The last book on my list is the Backyard Bird Chronicles by Amy Tan. Amy Tan is also someone that I have only read The Joy Luck Club by, but I just have such a strong impression of her writing because I loved that book so much. And I'm really into birds right now. We have a little bird feeder out on our porch, and I have spent so many hours this summer just sitting out on the bird feeder watching like the little sparrows and starlings. And I don't know, I saw this book making the rounds and I thought, okay, I absolutely have to read that. It is also so incredibly beautiful. It has all of these like color illustrations of birds like throughout the book. So I'm gonna try not to like crack the spine too badly, but so you can see Amy Tan illustrated all of these gorgeous birds that she has seen in her garden. I'm not really exactly sure what it's about beyond like the sort of imaginary life that she has imagined for these birds. It is a memoir, and I think she talks about her sort of retreat from the world into, trying to find some sort of peace and solitude, and the experience of getting really into birds. I think she has like hundreds of bird feeders. Like, she's like really obsessed with birds. And I guess to sort of write something like this, you have to be a bit obsessed with birds. But also a sort of perfect late summer read when there are just birds everywhere doing their thing. And I'm really excited to read it. So there you have it. There are the 5 books that I put on my TBR for July and August. I maybe was a little bit under ambitious in this TBR because I didn't finish all the books on my last TBR, and I wanted to leave myself some flexibility to add in new books if something, sort of spontaneously strikes my fancy, in the way that I did for Pride last month. And so hopefully I will make it through all of these books, and you can check back for a review at the end of August. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you'd like to hear more from me, please consider subscribing. And as always, thank you so much for spending some of your one wild and precious life with me watching this video.